So here's your first lecture and quiz. And this isn't like a, do or die or a stressful thing. It's just like, I just want to teach you how quizzes work. And I want to show you some basic information about online classes. All right, so here are the main things you need to know about online classes, right? Like with an online class, you need greater self-discipline. And why do you need greater self-discipline? The reason you need greater self-discipline is because you're not meeting in the classroom every week. And so you're out there on your own, you have more freedom, you have more independence, but you also have less structure built into the class. So you're going to have deadlines probably in other classes that you take. And you need to schedule those deadlines on your calendar. And you need to remind yourself, hey, I've got a deadline coming up. And you need to schedule time in your calendar each week to work on the class. Because you're not like scheduling in Tuesday, Thursday from 4 to 7, be in the classroom. You need to schedule some time where it's like, these are the times when I work on this class. So that's one of the pitfalls that students fall into when they take online classes, is they just keep putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. Every day they don't think about it, they just put it off. And then after 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't done anything in my online class for like 4 weeks, right? Because they don't have to go to the classroom and show up. It's not like that reminder where it's like, oh yeah, my class, I got to be at my class, it meets. You don't have that. So schedule into your calendar 1 or 2 times every week. Put it in your calendar when you're working on the class. Build that in. And that's going to save you a lot of grief, and that's going to help you avoid one of the I don't know, mud pits, one of the potholes, one of the pitfalls that online students fall into when they take an online class, is they just like keep not doing stuff, and then weeks go by and then they fail. So you have to have greater self-discipline, and you want to schedule it into your calendar each week, time to work on the online class. That makes sense? Next thing you need is you need greater problem-solving skills, because you're not in the classroom. So you have to be more proactive, right? You have to have greater problem-solving skills, and you have to be more proactive. So when you hit a problem, you have to seek out help. In the classroom, it's hard enough to raise your hand and say, hey, I'm stuck, can you help me? Or you might lean over and ask your neighbor in the classroom, well, what's going on here? When you're on your own, how do you do that? If you're new to online classes, you don't have the built-in skill set for figuring out how to get help. Like, you've been in the classroom, you've been taking classes in the classroom for years. Like, if you went through high school, that's like 12 years you've been in the classroom. And now you're like, no, and so in the classroom, you know how to do stuff. Ask your neighbor, raise your hand, ask the teacher, right? But in an online class, how do you do it? Well, you could go and you could chat, maybe go into a chat room, or you need to email your instructor, or call your instructor, or drive to campus and show up at your instructor's office hours and say, I'm stuck, or schedule a time with your instructor. Better yet, because some instructors, they have meetings sometimes during their office hours, so always good to schedule an appointment with your instructor. But you got to be more proactive, and you have to have problem-solving skills. You might ask people in your house. You might call a friend, like just a friend. Hey, I'm stuck on this. How do you solve it, right? You got to be a little bit more creative. You got to be more proactive. You have to bump up your problem-solving skills when you take an online class. And then finally, you need to have the correct expectations when you take an online class. Some people think, oh, cool, it's online. I never have to go to the classroom. This is going to be easy. If anything, it makes it a little bit harder because you don't have that structure built in. And an online class, the rigor of an online class is going to be just as much as an in-person class. And so you need to, learn the material. And that might be watching lectures online. That might be reading the textbook, one or the other, or both. You might be doing both those things, right? But you need to, have the correct expectations that an online class is not going to be any easier than a class in the classroom. If anything, it's going to be more challenging because you don't have that structure built in, and you're not meeting in person with the rest of the students and the instructor. You're maybe watching videos, or maybe even just reading the textbook. Because some teachers teach it where it's just like, read chapter 1. And it's like, man, I think that's horrible as a teacher. But anyhow, so these are the things you need to know about being an online student, and the difference between an in-person class and an online class is that, in an online class, you got to have greater self-discipline. You got to structure it into your calendar each week, time to work on the class. You have to be a little bit more proactive and have stronger problem solving skills when you hit problems. Like you got to seek out help in new ways in which you haven't done it maybe before in other in-person classes. And you have to have the correct expectations, because online classes are just as hard, if not harder, than in-person classes. They do give you more flexibility often, but because you don't have to show up twice a week. So you get more flexibility, but it comes at a price. All right, so now you've heard all that. You watch this video, now you just want to click on whatever button when you're seeing this, that you take this quiz, and there'll be a couple of questions that just ask you pretty much these things right here. So I hope you learned some good stuff.